Welcome to Moksa Workflow Manager Training Movies. This is exercise number 2, in which we will build a new workflow using a commission task and an approval task. Initially, we will talk a little bit about creating a new workflow, then we will add the commission task, and finally we will personalize the workflow portal settings for this workflow. As we saw in a previous training movie, you just create a new workflow by adding a new category. You can say, give it whatever name you like and use it as a new template for your workflow. You can select, open the workflow graph and start building your workflow. But if your workflow is similar to a previously built workflow, then you can select this workflow and you can either just create the workflow like we did a few seconds ago and import, or you can also duplicate the workflow category. The workflow category contains all the information about the personalized environment for your workflow template, for your portal, so it could be useful to duplicate that as well. I select the category being the workflow template that I want to duplicate, and I can just say duplicate, and it will copy all the information that was set in there and create a new category. Of course, we will say exercise training 2. And of course, we won't call it first workflow, but as we saw, we called it commission and approve. Now I can go in here and open the workflow graph. You notice that it is still empty. We did not duplicate the whole workflow. We just duplicated the workflow setup. Now we can import load tasks from any other workflow, and automatically these tasks will be added in our workflow builder. That makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker to build new workflows, because now you can just select from a previously built workflow. Mind you, it's a copy, it's not reusing it, it's a copy. So whatever you change here has no influence on the changes in the of any functionality in the other workflow. What are we going to do? Well, in the previous exercise we saw how we can approve a task. Now we want to give the opportunity for a person to perform a commission task. A commission task is a task in which you ask a person to deliver files to the workflow. We start with a new user list, and we're not gonna use marketing, but we are, cancel. I clicked at the wrong place. Watch out, it's not edit user list. You have to click outside the user list and say new user list. Then you can choose, and I'm going to say the design department is going to create something for me. Remember, a commission task is a task that one person has to perform. You should not select multiple persons that provide files at the same time in the same task. We have created our user list, our swim lane, so we can add now the task, and the task is a commission task. And I'm going to say create new banner or create new flyer. You can set a title which is going to be displayed, and you can add a comment, an explanation of what is expected from the user. Here you can define whatever, create new flyer, and whatever text you want in here will automatically appear for the user. As I mentioned when we started, I was going to give you a small overview of some placeholders that you can use. In the workflow portal, we are adding information like a workflow name, the administrator, the start date, and the instructions. And it can be useful that that information is available inside the workflow, so that it is available inside the mail when you get notified. So what we do is I can add these placeholders in my mail. We already saw in a previous movie that percentage link percentage points to the specific link to the task. Here this will give us the instructions of what the user is expected to do. So I could say, dear participant, and then the instructions will be added here whenever the workflow is started. I could add also an administrator if I want an administrator to be notified whenever this task is started or delayed or is finished. Very important is that we are going to upload files into the workflow, so you should select the workflow assets catalog, the catalog that you prepared for this task. Mind you that you will only see those catalogs in this drop-down where Vault is enabled, because otherwise you will not be able to upload files in the web. You can always set a number of minimum upload files and maximum upload files, giving that way a more controlled environment to your user. You can also enable new versions of input records. That means that you are not only allowed to upload files into the task, but also do a check-in, check-out. And finally, the workflow URL is something that you should never have to change. If you defined in the preferences your site's URL, then this task will use that preference and will enable you to just keep this as it is. Should there be a difference on internal and external websites for internal people performing tasks and external people performing tasks, then this could be the place where you could add such a external URL while everybody else would use the internal URL, the default one defined in your preferences. But in all other cases, you should not modify that parameter. I created my task, and now I have to set from this task the outlets. A commission task has two outlets. You have the uploaded files, which we will send on to the approval task, and you also have the provided files. Now the provided files are the files that were provided by the task before. Well, in this case, the task before is the portal, so whatever files are provided as input records in the workflow portal are those files that the commission task gets, maybe to use in the new design. You can decide for the next task what to do with these. You could decide that these are going to be sent on to the next task or not. In this example, we are not sending them along. They are just kept inside that task, and after that no longer used. So we've set up this part so far. Now we can go and have a quick look at the workflow specific settings that I talked about a few moments ago. In this case, it could be that this workflow does not require any input. That doesn't mean that it's not allowed, but it just is not required. So I'm putting it to 0. So if the person delivers 0 files, it's good. See, if they deliver 20 files, it's fine as well. Let's now talk about additional info. A task, a workflow can have specific fields, information fields that you want the person who starts the workflow to enter at that point, because that information could be useful, used as a reference or as information throughout the workflow. We do this simply by clicking here on New, and you can type in help information, you can type in a label, so SKU could be an example, and you could say please look up the SKU. You can set this to a lot of parameters which I'm not going to discuss now, but you can define with this parameter when it should be set, at startup, not at startup, later, before, should it be hidden, and you can also set it to be mandatory at the start or mandatory after the start. So I'm just gonna leave it at not mandatory. You can even set the default value, so you have plenty of possibilities. Very, very important to notice is in Cumulus 8.6 there's a bug. If I click here on the save button, it will give you an error and you will not be able to save this. So you have to click on the name here and not on the button, and then you will still get this error, but you will also get the opportunity to click on the save button. This has to do with the some bug that does not create an ID, so just click save and now your SKU is properly added. No worries. I can add another one, and another example could be country or plant. Maybe you have products for several plants, and maybe you could say please select plant. I don't want them to type in the plant. I can just say I want the plant of Belgium, I want the plant of the US, or I want the plant of Australia. Notice that they are separated by semicolons, and notice if I don't want something pre-selected, I just put a semicolon at the start, so the very first value is equals to nothing. Again, don't click on the save button, click on this category, and then when this appears just click save and it will work perfectly. So that's what I wanted to do to set up this workflow. I'm now going to close the workflow. This workflow is now ready to be used. This template will allow you now to create new workflows. One final thing is the visibility of workflows. You can decide that a workflow should only be visible for a person, or should only be visible for a department, which is a Cumulus role, not a Cumulus department. So a role, maybe design. We will see in the next movie that might have an influence on the visibility of what we see in the workflow portal. Thank you for joining me on this example. In the next movie, we will execute this workflow.